With the Pittsburgh Penguins in Sweden this week to take part in the NHL's Global Series, I thought it'd be a fun idea to do a global video. You're looking at a map right now that in black has colored where an NHL player was born. So every single one of these countries, and I divided the states and provinces up into their respective areas. Every single one that's colored has had an NHL player play, in the NHL. And I'm going to penguinify this and go over and we're going to color where a Pittsburgh Penguins player has come from. All of this data is on Hockey Reference, and I'm going over where these players were born, not where they're necessarily from if you moved when you were very young or whatever. Let's just jump straight into it. And we're going to start in Europe because that's where the Penguins are right now. And just going in alphabetical order, Konstantin Koltsov is from Belarus. Only 10 players in NHL history have come from the country. And Koltsov, while he was born in the USSR, he was born in Minsk, which is in Belarus. There are a couple of other players that will have some similar situations with former countries existing and things like that, but I'm not going to get in politics for this video. Koltsov played 144 games his entire career with the Penguins in the early 2000s. Next, we have the only player in NHL history to come from the country of Brunei, which is a small Southeast Asian country, and that is Craig Adams, who played a long career with Pittsburgh, 7 years and a Stanley Cup in 2009. He did move to Canada when he was very young, but still, he was born in the country of Brunei. Next, we have Czechia, or when he was born, Jaromir Jagr, who is obviously our pick for this one. The country was called Czechoslovakia, but he was born in Kladno, which still to this day is in Czechia. Moving on to Denmark, only 18 players have played in the NHL from the country of Denmark, but one of them has been with the Penguins, and that is Lars Eller. Several good options I could have picked from in Penguins history, and also obviously in NHL history. For the country of Finland, I went with Olli Mata, who had a great long career with the Penguins and one of the more underrated players in those back-to-back cup runs, still playing this day with the Utah Mammoth. 6 years in Pittsburgh and 2 Stanley Cups. Germany has had some pretty relevant NHL players as well. Obviously, Leon Draisaitl is out there right now, but for the Penguins, Tom Kuhnhackl is my pick, although there are some others. Kuhnhackl is probably the most notable Penguin, who also won back-to-back cups with the team and was just a solid bottom 6 forward. Believe it or not, the Penguins have actually had a player from Italy. Only 3 players in NHL history have been born in Italy, and Nelson DeBendit is one of them, who played only 46 games in his entire NHL career, 31 of them with the 74-75 Penguins. Steve Dangle has made this next person and his home country a little bit famous with his memes, and that is Teddy Bluger from Riga, Latvia, who played 5 years in Pittsburgh before moving on to the Vegas Golden Knights, where I was able to meet him, and then he won a Stanley Cup. He's still in the league today and should be on their Olympic team if Latvia is part of the Winter Olympics. Good old Darius Kasparaitis is from the country of Lithuania. He played 6 years in Pittsburgh, some very notable and memorable years and moments. He was born in the USSR, but the town he is from Lithuania. Only 2 players have come from the Netherlands in NHL history, and one of them played for the Penguins, was drafted by the Penguins nonetheless, Daniel Sprong, who started his career in Pittsburgh and has had a very interesting career bouncing around to a lot of teams. I believe he's done in the NHL right now, playing in Europe in some capacity. But nonetheless from the Netherlands. Also along those same lines, only 9 players have come from the country of Poland, but one with the Penguins in the early years of the franchise. Nick Harboruk played for them, who is from Poland. I don't have much to say about him. 4 years in Pittsburgh, though, 308 games with the franchise. Going over to Russia, obviously my pick is Evgeny Malkin, who was born in Russia proper, even though he was born during the age of the Soviet Union. A lot of great players you could pick from, obviously, in Penguins history and NHL history as well, but Malkin obviously the obvious one. Similarly, Miroslav Shatan is from Czechoslovakia technically, but his hometown is in modern-day Slovakia, so Shatan, only 1 year with the Penguins, 08-09 though, was an important part to that Stanley Cup team. Moving out of Europe for this next country, only 2 players have come from South Africa, and one of them is a Penguin and one of them is a current Penguin. Harrison Brunick was born in South Africa. Obviously, he moved to Canada, but I still think that's very interesting and fascinating that technically he started, his life there in South Africa, and it gives their country an NHL player. So I think that's very cool. The Republic of Korea, and I'm specifying that it's South Korea because both of these players were born in Seoul, have had only 2 players in NHL history, but both of them are notable Penguins players, Richard Park and Jimmy Pack. The player I'll go with is Jimmy Pack, who had a short career, but he won 2 cups in that time with the Penguins, and the Penguins also drafted him in 1985. On to the country that sort of helped inspire this video, Sweden. A lot of great players in NHL history and just in Penguins history, and a lot of good options. I'm going with one of my favorite players ever, Patric Hornqvist, though, who was a vital part of those back-to-back cup runs. There's obviously Rakell and Karlsson on the team right now, and Philip Hollander. Remember when the Penguins traded for Mark Streit? I do. And he went on to win a Stanley Cup, and he's from Switzerland, so that country gets added to our list here. The only player in NHL history to come from Ukraine is Ruslan Fedotenko, and hey, wouldn't you know it, he played for the Penguins. A long career for him, stopping in Pittsburgh and winning a Stanley Cup. Peter Lee played his entire career in Pittsburgh, 431 games from the late 70s to early 80s, and he is from Ellesmere in the United Kingdom. And yeah, he gets the UK on the board here, which does round out every country other than North America that we'll go through real quick, because most of this focus of this video was to be on European and Asian and even African countries. Now that we're done with everything but North America, everything in gold is where a Penguins player has come from, and everything in black is where an NHL player has come from, but the Penguins have not had a player in franchise history play for them from that country just yet. So moving on to North America, and I did split the U.S. and Canada into their respective states and provinces. From Alberta, though, I picked Troy Loney. From British Columbia, Hockey Hall of Famer Mark Recchi. From Manitoba, Brian Hextall. From New Brunswick, Greg Malone. From Newfoundland and Labrador, a little more rural area in Canada, but still NHL players have come from there. So I had to pick Bob Gladney, though, who only played 14 games in the NHL, 13 with the Penguins. From Nova Scotia, Sidney Crosby. From Ontario, so many good options, but I went with Ron Francis. Don't forget about Prince Edward Island, who has John Chabot. Lee Magnifique, I think is how you say it in French-Canadian. Mario Lemieux from Montreal, Quebec. And then my GOAT, Chris Kunitz, who's from Saskatchewan. And that rounds out Canada. No players in Penguins history have come from Northwest Territories. Only 5 in NHL history have. And no players in NHL history have come from Nunavut. Not a lot of people up there, though. So moving on to the states real quick here. Towards the end of the video, let's go Alaska first. Ty Conklin. Only 14 players from Alaska in NHL history, but Ty Conklin, Penguins goalie, is one of them. Brooks Orpik from San Francisco, California. Only 55 games in the NHL career of Joe Norris, but he is from Denver, Colorado. Bonino from Hartford, Connecticut. The only player in NHL history to come from the state of Delaware is Mark Eaton, who played for the Penguins. Jason Megna from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. A lot of good options from Illinois. I went with Eddie Olczyk. Next door, Jack Johnson comes from Indiana. Only 9 players from Maine, but Brian Dumoulin is one of them. Kevin Stevens is my pick for the hockey state of Massachusetts. I would like to thank the state of Michigan for Cars, Little Caesars, M&M, and Brian Rust. Another hockey state in Minnesota, I went with Paul Martin, who I always liked. Joe Vitale comes from Missouri. Nebraska's not home to much, but it is home to Jake Gensel, so thank you for that, Nebraska. Ben Lovejoy comes from New Hampshire, and Drew O'Connor from New Jersey. Out of the many great players that have come from New York, I settled on Hockey Hall of Famer Joe Mullen, and Ian Moran from Ohio, Grant Sasser from Oregon, and Ryan Bugsy Malone, not only from the state of Pennsylvania, but from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who went on to play for the Pittsburgh Penguins. 2 players that are currently on the team, Noel Acciari is from Rhode Island, and Caleb Jones is from Texas. John LeClaire, who did end up playing for the Penguins, is from Vermont. Wayne Hicks is from Washington. And finally, your boy, Phil Kessel, is from the state of Wisconsin. And yeah, that'll do it. So again, in black is where an NHL player has come from, but not a Penguins player just yet. And in gold is where a Penguins player has come from. Where do you think the Penguins can fill out some of this map next? Like, comment, subscribe. Go Penguins.